Have you ever heard the Cauldron of Poesy? Well, Dagdy Agus Fáilte. Hi, hello, and welcome. Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And you may not know, but the Cauldron of Poesy is a poem. It is a poem which is attributed to Ireland's mythological filla or bard known as Amergin Gloomgal. Now, not many people have read the poem itself, but it's because it talks about this cauldron and the manner in ways people access and connect with themselves or their information or knowledge and grow. It has been transposed onto neo-pagan beliefs or other culture energy work beliefs. And so find it rather frustrating, so much so that I taught an entire class on it at the Irish Pagan School. But in order to try and, save you some effort here, I thought maybe I could just read you the poem and see what you think about it. So the translation I have here is from Liam Breatnach, and the source of the translation is Ériu, which was a magazine manuscript which was done multiple volumes of. But this is Ériu from 1981, volume 32, and it's on pages 45 to 93. And so it was published by the Royal Irish Academy. And in this, Liam goes through not just the translation of the poem, but breaks down the structure, the linguistics, the whole section of the manuscript. It's absolutely fascinating, and I would recommend looking it up. I'll see if I can maybe put a link to it down below. But I'm here to read you the poem. So settle in. The Cauldron of Poesy. Mine is the proper cauldron of Goirha. Warmly God has given it to me out of the mysteries of the elements. A noble privilege which ennobles the breast is the fine speech which pours from it. I, being white-kneed, blue-shanked, grey-bearded Amergin, let the work of my Goraha in similes and comparisons be related, since God does not equally provide for all, inclined, upside down, or upright, no knowledge, partial knowledge, or full knowledge. In order to compose poetry for ever dawn, with great many chantings of masculine, feminine, and neuter, of the signs of double letters, long vowels, and short vowels, this is the way by which is related the nature of my cauldron. I acclaim the cauldron of knowledge, where the law of every art is set out, as a result of which prosperity increases, which magnifies every artist in general, which exalts a person by means of an art. Where is the source of poetry? Where is the source of poetic art in a person? In the body or in the soul? Some say in the soul, since the body does nothing without the soul. Others say in the body, since it is inherent in one in accordance with physical relationship, i.e., from one's father or grandfather. But it is more true to say that the source of poetic art and knowledge is present in every corporeal person, save in every second person it does not appear, in the other it does. What does the source of poetic art and every other knowledge consist of? Not difficult. Three cauldrons are generated in every person, i.e., the cauldron of Goiraha, the cauldron of Ermia, the cauldron of knowledge. The cauldron of Goiraha is that which is generated upright in a person from the first. Out of it is distributed knowledge to people in early youth. The cauldron of Ermia then, after it has been converted, it magnifies. It is that which is generated on its side in a person. The cauldron of knowledge. It is that which generates upside down, and out of it is distributed the knowledge of every other art besides poetic art. The cauldron of Ermia then, in every second person, it is upside down, i.e., in ignorant people. It is on its side in those who practice Bardana agus Reidna. It is upright in the anthrots of knowledge and poetic art. And the reason then why everyone else does not practice at the same stage is because the cauldron of Ermia is upside down in them until sorrow or joy converts it. How many divisions are there of sorrow which convert it? Not difficult. Four. longing, grief, and the sorrow of jealousy and exile for the sake of God. It is internally that these form make it upright, although they are produced from outside. There are then two divisions of joy, which it is converted into the cauldron of knowledge, i.e., divine joy and human joy. As for human joy, it has four divisions: the force of sexual longing, the joy of safety and freedom from care, plenty of food and clothing until one begins Bardna, and joy at the prerogatives of poetry after studying it well, joy at the prerogatives, and joy at the arrival of Imbas, which the nine hazels of fine mast at Segis in the She amass, and which is sent upstream along the surface of the Boyne, as extensive as the weather's fleece, swifter than a racecourse in the middle of June every seventh year, regularly. Divine joy, moreover, is the coming of divine grace to the cauldron of Ériu, so that it converts into the upright position. And as a result, there are people who are both divine and secular prophets, and commentators both on matters of grace and of secular learning. And they then utter godly utterances and perform miracles, and their words are maxims and judgments, and they are an example for all speech. But it is from outside that these make the cauldron upright, although they are produced internally. Concerning that what Naig Mac Aidna said, I acclaim the cauldron of Ériu with understandings of grace, with accumulations of knowledge, the streams of splendor, the exaltings of the ignoble, the mastering of language, quick understanding, the darkening of speech, the craftsman of synchronism, the cherishing of pupils, where what is due is attended to, where senses are distinguished, where one approaches musical art, where knowledge is propagated, where the noble are enriched, and where he who is not noble is ennobled. Where names are exalted, where praises are related by lawful means, with distinctions of rank, with pure estimations of nobility, with the fair speech of wise men, with streams of scholarship, a noble brew, in which is brewed the basis of all knowledge, which is set out according to law, which is advanced to after study, which imbas quickens, which joy converts, which is revealed through sorrow. It is enduring power, whose protection does not diminish. I acclaim the cauldron of Ériu. What is Ériu? Not difficult. An artistic noble turning, or an artistic after turning, or an artistic course, i.e., it confers knowledge and status and honor after being converted. The cauldron of Ériu, it grants and is granted. It extends and is extended. It nourishes and it is nourished. It magnifies, it is magnified. It requests, it is requested of. It acclaims, it is acclaimed. It preserves, it is preserved. It arranges, it is arranged. It supports, it is supported. Good is the source of measuring. Good is the acquisition of speech. Good is the confluence of power which builds up strength. It is greater than any domain. It is better than any patrimony. It brings one to wisdom. It separates one from fools. So that is the translation of Liam Breatnach's work of the Cauldron of Poesy. Um, It is an extensive work. It is documented in one particular manuscript, a copy of which is kept in Trinity College, and it is dated somewhere between the 14th and the 15th century. We know this because the person, the scribe who actually copied it into the manuscript, dated it down the bottom, although that dating is a little bit smudged from age. So in this we have this character, this individual, Amergin Gloomgal, the Filla of the Milesians, the sons of Mill, the last tribe to arrive at the end of the mythological era of Ireland's past. And He is seen through the mythology making agreements with goddesses of sovereignty. The name Ériu being on the island of Ireland, for example, is because Amergin agreed with Ériu, and that is still honored today. The name of our Ireland is Éire Oscuelga, so the name of a sovereignty goddess is still to this day on the island. Um, but a lot of people think that these cauldrons are about, mystical energy centers within the body. Whereas if we look at what the narrative of it is telling us, it's about knowledge and it's about that which grows and changes within us as we grow and change. It starts with this upright cauldron of Gaira, where just as a child, as a youth, we just have we just seem to know everything. And we are without joy and without sorrow. And we just have all of this information or all of this experience that we are just in life. But then as joy and sorrow begins to impact on us, begins to work on us, we have this changing option or this changing movement of the cauldron, which is Ermia. So it moves onto its side. And if you picture a cauldron, if it's something's upright, it can be filled to its full. If it's on its side, no matter how you pour in, more stuff is pouring out and you can never be fulfilled. Or if it is on its lips, if it's upside down, as it's said to be in some people, no matter how much you try and pour in, it's never going to fill. So through joy and sorrow acting upon us, the cauldron tips over, it tips on its side. But that doesn't mean we can't tip it upright onto its feet and then fill it with knowledge and then be ennobled by that, be empowered by that knowledge, and then engage and correct and grow with that process. It does mean, though, we have to engage with our joy and with our sorrow. We need to understand how those things impact upon us and how, we may not be able to understand something, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to understand something. By getting our cauldron onto its feet, by getting it upright, by choosing that process and then filling it with knowledge, we become a better person. We become better capable and better able to be an ennobled individual. And again, it is the basis of all of this knowledge. So for me, studying the story and following the path of an Irish bard, this poem, this poetry is not about mystical energy centers in the head, the heart, and the gut. This poetry is about how does one become the best version of themselves. It is about understanding that we can't be full unless we are doing the work on ourselves. We can't, no matter how much effort we pour in, if we haven't got ourselves in balance, if we're not set on our feet like a cauldron should be, then we can never be filled properly. And so understanding the triggers, joy, happiness, challenging ourselves, being aware of what makes us uncomfortable, but then not shying away from that, not hiding from that, and trying to gloss over it with positivity or toxic optimism. It's about saying, okay, well, no, there is sadness, there is sorrow here, but that doesn't change our state. That doesn't mean that we are lessened by it. It's an opportunity to grow and to get our cauldron upright, and then we can fulfill from there and be the better version of ourselves. And then once we become that, we can then pour out from our cauldron to other people to help them get their cauldrons upright so they can become the better version of themselves too. So, what I would like to offer with this at the end is a question, a kecht. As we have seen in this poetry, there is this ancient form where someone is asked a question, well, what is the Ermia? What is this? And not hard to say, how do we answer that? So I would ask you if you were to look at yourself right now, having heard that poem, is your cauldron balanced and upright to be fulfilled and to then pass on fulfillingness? Is it on its side? Are you putting a lot more effort in and then losing parts of what you're putting in? Or is your cauldron upside down on its lips, where no matter how much you pour into it, you're not actually gaining anything? Ask that of yourself. You don't have to come back and answer me. You don't have to fire it in the comments. If you want to put it in the comments, I don't mind. But it is about asking that of yourself and then considering, as the poet says, how does it turn? How does the cauldron of go from Goiraha to Ermas on its side, and then how does it go from Ermas to Sophis, which is knowledge? It is true joy and sorrow. So where is your joy? Or what is making you sad right now? And how are you going to learn and how are you going to grow from that? As I said, there's a class over at the Irish Pagan School. I think there's a class at the Irish Pagan School. I will find that link and I will see if I can pop that in for you there as well. Until next time, look after yourself. Take care. Agus slán. Bye.